Shalom, shalom, everyone, and welcome to another segment of YAH Conscience Radio, where if it's not YAH Conscience, then it's not acceptable. ראשית, אנחנו רוצים לתת כבוד ושבת לאחווה
conscience that is not
עליון.
acceptable. ראשית, אנחנו רוצים לתת כבוד ושבת.
That just threw me off. I'm sorry. Eloi Abraham, Yiskak Yaakov. First, we want to give honor and praise to the Most High. Power, He or it that causes us to be or exist. Power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, I got to make sure I don't have that window open, the YouTube window, because when the window is open, it gives the echo. But again, we appreciate you all tuning in again for another segment of YAH Conscience Radio. We don't have the music today. We're going to go without it. I'm in the process of moving at the moment, but next week we will have it, although I won't be at my place yet. So, shalom, everyone. How y'all doing? She's Abula and Kathy, Gaveta Kathy, our coach Shimon. How you all doing today?
Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Shalom. So we got an interesting topic today. The title of these topics is Rules of Engagement. Rules of engagement. You like that, did? Yeah, I put that in there. Rules of engagement. Appreciate the Ahud coming up with the beautiful topics and the challenging topics. So the three topics today is the first one: how does a man betroth women today? Some might say betroth. How does a man betroth or betroth women today? Number two, should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? That's a tough one. If so, how? And number three, what is the correct ceremony for an Israelite man and woman to marry today? If joined by an Israelite elder, does it hold up in America's court? Beautiful. Beautiful. So, again, rules of engagement. Let's go with the first question of the day. And I want to pass that one to Achot Sharon. How does a man betroth women today? How does a man betroth or betroth women today? You there? I don't know if she can hear us. Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
Right? That's an interesting one.
Wow. Okay. So, are we basing this on a larger scale?
Let's do both. Let's do a larger scale and I don't know, a remnant or a kadosh or separate scale, Israelite scale. However you want to put it, bring it out. Let us know what's your thoughts. How does a man betroth women today? Oh, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's do the larger scale, but let's do a righteous way, and then, you probably can intertwine that with what you see, however you want to bring it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, betrothed, the act of betrothal to me is has become very very different these days. As we know it, you betroth a woman by going to her father and having the permission from her Abba and things like that. But on a larger scale, I guess you would inquire diligently about that woman. Whether you go to a family member, whether you go to an elder, whether you go to someone else that is connected to that woman, to get an upfront impression of that woman before going further or before approaching that woman. For an example, if that woman has say in the community on a larger scale, if you know someone that know that woman, I would say you approach someone who is close to her just to get a little upfront background information So it would give you the option or the leeway to take it further or not. But on a larger scale, I don't know. It just seemed like simply going through social media is the way people betroth today. This question is more so. It's not a one size fit all. You know, it's like it goes by the situation at hand. I'm eager to I don't know. I'm gonna sit back on this one because I'm eager to get another, to get you all feedback on it a little bit.
Okay. Stand by. Let's go ahead with Chief Zabulan. How does a man betroth women today? How does a man betroth women today?
Hallelujah. Shalom, everybody. Rabbit holes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But we're gonna go down. We're gonna go down one of them though. That's gonna happen.
We got.
Yeah. I mean, and okay. let's back it up. So how does a man betroth a woman today? That I guess this could be good or it could be bad depending on where the person who's listening. There is no set way for a man to betroth a woman today, because of course today marriage is it's a shell of what once existed. It's a shell. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about rabbit holes, because if I go down one portion of this, it's going to open up a whole bunch of other things. I'll say this from the camp that I came out of and how I saw it go down and how I've come to understand it historically. And I guess this is going to tie into possibly the next question or whatever, is that normally when you are raised up in a particular camp or a congregation, whether you're first generation, second generation Israelite, third or whatever, you're raised up in a community. You're raised up in a camp setting. 9 times out of 10, the female, and this is from a man's point of view, of course, the female that you are possibly that you're interested in, you've pretty much known her for years. You're at Shabbat services with each other, you know what I'm saying? Week after week, month after month, year after year, possibly, for a decade or so. So you pretty much, you already know the female. Why? Because you know her family. Chances are her father is probably a high-ranking man in the camp. So he already knows you. You know her. She knows you, and everybody already knows. So in a camp setting, and I'm keeping it camp centered for a reason at this point. In a camp setting, the betrothal can very well be on the level of what it was in ancient times, during the time of the patriarchs, because again, you know the person, you know the woman, she knows you. You grew up probably grew up together. Y'all came in the truth, came up in the truth together. So the learning curve is shortened. You're not trying to figure out, okay, is she giving off fake femininity, and she's not looking at him like, okay, is his masculinity just for show, or is it, whatever? You already know what you're working with.
You're doing too much, Chief. You're giving them too much.
No, I mean, and no, I mean,
no, he's not. No, he's not.
No, I know.
It's so when you're in a congregational setting, you already have these things are already laid out. So it's the betrothal process in a camp generally is really simple because, hey, I already know your father. your father is Chief Prince so-and-so. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to I'm going to go to your father. Hey, shalom, elder, listen. And we're going to sit down. And I think we all know how this is going to go. He's going to, he's going to quiz me. Yo, what you working with? How's your finances? How's, well, he already knows if your mind and your spirit are right in this walk, he's going to, but he's going to make diligent inquiry into your character. Does he see you as being a reputable individual for his daughter, for his daughter to enter into his tent, so to speak, and vice versa. So, I mean, that's the very, very simple explanation. But here's the flip side to that. These betrothals, they're still based in the confines or the parameters of Euro-Christian marriage. It's still centered in it. So a lot of us, what we're doing is when we say nowadays, and now I'm going to speak generally in Israel, very generally now. Betrothal now is, I see this sister, I'm feeling her, she looking good, nose rings are popping, you know what I'm saying? Fringes is hanging all over the place. I'm feeling her. I'm going to push up on her. I'm not thinking about her father. And I'm not saying me personally. I'm just saying that this is the general now approach in Israel. It's like, no, it's between me and this woman.
Okay.
Now, why? Because oftentimes, especially on social media, many of the people that you see on social media, they're not even attached to camps anymore. They're not even attached to camps. Why? Because they'll say, well, camps are the reason why there's so much division in Israel. So what you're seeing, especially, like I said, on social media, you're seeing a bunch of anarchists. And when you have anarchists trying to come together in a marriage form, that marriage is going to be rooted in anarchy as well. Because there's no checks and balances. There's no male figure or male head for that sister to come in and check to see if this brother is who he says he is, or, you know what I'm saying, or does he need to get smacked up a little bit because he's out of pocket. There's nobody to check the sister to find out, is this sister a virtuous woman in Israel, or is she a whore with a turban? There's no checks and balances. So this is what's happening today in the betrothal process. It's really just, I'm feeling you, sis. You feeling me? We're going to get busy. And then we'll meet up at the camp and say Shabbat Shalom. That's kind of where it's at today. And I think we've seen this, and those of us who've been in this walk, for a while. And I think Sister Sharon, she's been around obviously she's been around for a while. And so those of us who've been around for a while, we've seen the deterioration of not just the marriage process, but even the ethics of marriage. And so to the original question, how does a man betroth a woman today? It's kind of back, it goes back to the book of Judges, where it says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So on one hand, you'll have some brothers who will say, yo, betrothal, and they'll try to give you a historical, cultural approach. And then you have some that'll be like, nah, sex is what makes you married. That's it. We have sex. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And call it a day. That's a problem. But again, because we're in a time of cultural anarchy, especially on social media, again, there's no checks and balances. When I was coming in this walk, there was checks and balances. You came sideways at a sister, brothers in the camp will go to your house and snatch you and get you right. Whatever like that. If you came sideways at a sister, came sideways at a daughter of Zion. and vice versa. If a sister was out of pocket, the sisterhood was going to go check that sister. You know what I'm saying? And do what is needed to get her back on track or whatever the case may be. You know, right now we're kind of not in that zone anymore. We're not in that mind state. Those of us who are still attached to camps in some way, we're holding on to relics now. We're gatekeepers holding on to these ancient relics because, again, you go on Facebook and you go to some of these Israelite marriage groups. You're not seeing righteous betrothal. You're not seeing righteous marriage. What you're seeing is Hebraic whoredom.
Come on now, Chief.
And Hebraic whoremongering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my answer, to condense all of that, my answer to the first question would be, we have a do as thou wilt mentality, generally speaking. Not all of us obviously have that mentality, but you can't even get 10 Israelites in a circle and get the same answer out of them as far as what constitutes marriage. And if you can't get 10 Israelites to agree on something as sacred as marriage, well, and there lies the rabbit hole. But I'll stop there for now.
I'm gonna wave the fire a little bit. Wave the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Just really quick, Sleeka Moray. Just really quick, I just want to say I appreciate the Chief Zabulin, because I can say one thing and I can always depend on Chief to bring it full circle for us. Absolutely. I just want to put that out there.
Well, I try my best, because as people already know about me, I'm long-winded. So a lot of times I have to kind of check myself and say, all right, let's get it back over here. So
no, but you always bring it full circle. Yes, yeah. That's what I love.
I love it.
That's the balance that I like.
To y'all goes the glory.
I'm gonna be short. And Chief, I mean it. I know you're gonna say that's some bull. I'm gonna be short. I'm gonna come in.
There's no such thing as short Israelite dialogues.
Yeah, I know. But you two, both of you cover most of the other part of what I was gonna say. So I'm gonna try not to speak on what both of you brought out, because both of you brought out some excellent points. I want to bring out maybe a couple other things. Some of the things that you both mentioned, we see that happens in the secular, quote unquote secular world, as so-called regular black people, or whatever other ethnicity you might be in the modern world. So we're literally doing the same things that they are doing, right? But then I started thinking, as you was talking, Chief, I'm like, okay, so what if this woman, do not have a father? Or what if this woman's father really doesn't know nor care about the situation? We see that a lot. And I'm going to answer my own questions, but I'm bringing this out because I want to make this, I want to hit the rabbit hole. I want us to try to cover as much as possible, so when people watching this, it can probably get them to think. And I'm gonna give an example real quick. No, before I give that example, I'm gonna say what I have to say. So the woman does not have a father, or father's not really present, or father doesn't really care nothing about this. How do you move? So how does a man betroth a woman today? How do you move in that sense? If you are a righteous man and or woman that doesn't have the things that we see in our ancient culture, those things that actually helped us thrive, which we see today we don't do, which is a lot of people are failing because of that. So what do? I want to give some advice for those that's watching. In that situation, fill out the man, fill out the woman, right? I call it pre-courtship. Some of you all, I'm sure Chief Zabulon and Acho Sharon is familiar with that, Kathy. The better Kathy. I'm not sure if you are or not. You might be, but a pre-courtship stage, right? I don't recommend going into a courtship alone. Let me say that again. I don't recommend going into a courtship alone for many reasons, but I'm not going to get into it. But my only advice would be having a guided courtship, having eldership, somebody outside of you. You might be very attracted to the young woman or the young man. You might love a lot of things that's going on with them. They might be, like you had said, Chief, they might be displaying, keyword, I didn't say demonstrating. I said displaying. And also, even you could say demonstrating, because demonstrating could be at that moment, but that demonstration can be, I was talking with someone the other day, earlier today, in a couple of days actually, on customer service representative. They displaying that, so they displaying and demonstrating that for the time being. But you want to see and have somebody else with wisdom look at both of you to either see it in you, right? And if you have it, they can guide you for longevity. So when you are married, what the heck are you talking about, Maurice Shema? The point in what I'm saying, as far as what does a man betrothing a woman today looks like to me, that's what it is. Bring in someone that is wiser than you, respected in the community, and has works to show that he or she is consistent and righteous, to where they can actually guide you through the process. We don't see that in today's so-called Black community, nor do we see that often in the modern sense of the Israelite community on a small scale. I'm not going to say large, because somebody brought to my attention, a wise man once said, fishbowl. So we a lot of this doctrine and a lot of how we feel about today is based off of like what we're seeing largely on Facebook. Many of us are not in camps. Many of us are not from camp settings. So a lot of our ideas on these topics is due to what we're seeing in or on Facebook, outside of people like, oh, I didn't bring her on. Hopefully she'll come back. Outside of people like Achot Sharon, who was born in this walk, outside of people like Chief, who's been in it. I ain't gonna tell your age, Chief. If I say it, they're gonna know your age, man, unless you don't care. He's just been in it. He's been in it for a while, you know what I'm saying? I've been in it for 10 years, but outside of that, you're winging it. You're reading the scripts, you're reading the literature, you piecing things together, and you're not seeking for eldership. You're not seeking for somebody wiser than you. You want a successful betrothal or engagement, because before engagement comes what? Courtship.
Yep.
Before engagement, we're talking about this. This is the first topic, right? Beautiful topic, but the first thing before this has to come a courtship. But we're not seeing it. We're not doing it. And that's why many of us is failing, whether in this walk or this truth or this culture or in the so-called Black community. Yes, so for me in my home, y'all know that scripture. We gonna serve, but for being my home, I'm gonna do it this way. I meet someone pre-courtship, because I ain't gonna bring no one to my elder or my you know what I'm saying, Chief and Chief case, because I would love, I'm saying it live, Chief to be the one to put me through my courtship until I'm sure. And if I'm sure, he gonna get a call by Chief. Look, I've been talking. I've been doing in the pre-courtship for about 2 months, 3 months. Yeah, we ready. You know what I'm saying? I want you to meet her first before we go for it. That's how you do it. It's steps. In anything in life, when you're dealing with work, when you're dealing with children, when you're dealing with buying a car, when you're dealing with fitness, getting into any it's steps. Why we don't have steps with this? So with that, I yield. I want to pass it to Gabetta. Kathy, what's your take on this beautiful topic you brought up? You are muted if you're talking. Just want you to know.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. I am really sitting back and amazed by the responses that that Chief and yourself have spoken upon thus far. I did present the question, and you both answered my question about what do we do? What do we do about the here and now? That's what really where I was driving home to. Like, again, like Chief said that you have your camp, and when he pointed that out, I definitely could identify again what because of my sister. But then you more breaking it down about the courtship, and then that man bringing to an elder or a brother that he can help him determine whether he should move forward with this individual or not, bringing them in. So your explanation, I fall more so under that umbrella. So like I said previously, I presented these questions because I was really just intrigued about what the elders, yourself, Chief and Sharon would have to say.
Wait, I'm not an elder. I'm 37 years old. I'm not an elder.
Well, you already got where I'm coming from. I'm not going to.
I'm playing. I got you.
But so I really don't have a comment because I think everyone answered my question. They really did. So I'm good. They Chief, like you said, was on fire. Followed by yourself was on fire. Sister Sharon, I definitely understood, where she was coming from today, and especially from a woman's perspective, because it's like women are using these social media platforms like it's their oxygen mask. You know what I mean? To sell themselves in one way, shape or form, which you, again, like you said, just putting these women on a larger scale and not in a close-knit community of knowing someone. So told off for that.
And if I may,
go
ahead.
Go ahead, Chief.
Oh no, I was gonna say that as far as like with the online, because I don't want to make it seem as if it's not possible to gain to meet for a woman to meet a good brother online, or a brother to meet a good sister online. I'm definitely not suggesting that. The only thing, and I think me and Maurice Shema, we spoke about this many times before, it's really just about the accountability, because you could be online in a group or whatever, but if there is an elder, or if there's elders and eldresses in that group who can pretty much monitor what's going on, then that could work from a cyber standpoint. It's possible. But let's be honest, in a lot of these groups, you're not seeing any elders. You're not seeing any elder sisters who are, pulling the skirts of these sisters saying, sis, you're bugging, you're wilding out. Saying, cover your cleavage. What are you doing? So we don't really see that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there was understanding, because I don't want people to say like, oh, you mean to tell me we can't, meet people online? No, I'm not saying that. But there's got to be accountability in any platform that we use. There's got to be somebody to say, brother, you're off. You need to go take a season, get your head together. You're clearly not ready for marriage. You need some elder sisters and queen mothers to come in and tell these sisters that, hey, you need to sit down. You think you need a husband, but what you really need is to get your head together. And so we need those checks and balances amongst ourselves. And lastly, to the earlier point about the father, like Maurice Shema brought out, with some sisters who may have not been born into this truth. They may have just came into this walk a year ago, 2 years ago. And let's just say that their actual physical father, their biological father may not be in this walk, or he may be deceased or whatever. But what is a sister to do? And I was just going to say this, and I'm trying to be as brief as possible. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And that is that your father, and this is to the sisters as well as brothers, your father is the elder or leader of your camp. That is the male figure who you are now relying on. Think about this. If you are putting your spiritual welfare in the hands of this individual, chief, prince, so-and-so, or priest, whoever, if you're putting your spiritual welfare in this individual's hands, this person is your father for all intent and purposes. When I look at my elders, Chief Prince Zipporah, the late great Chief of Chiefs Naphtali, these were my fathers. When my biological father wasn't in my life, these were the men. These were my first examples of Hebraic manhood. So when I would come in and talk to them, I came to them not as I'm Chief Zebulon and Abba, I have a question for you. Because these were the men who gave me the view of what Hebrew manhood should be. There's sisters in this in the Israelite community who are mothers to these younger sisters because they wouldn't know about Hebrew sisterhood and Hebrew womanhood if it wasn't for these women. These women are, in fact, your mothers and your fathers. When we give praise to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, do we refer to them as those men, or do we say our fathers? What does that even mean? When we say our fathers, we're saying that these individuals, they are our covering. They're the ones who give us the covering and give us the shield that protects us from everything outside of the covenant. When we talk about the women in scripture, when we talk about the Saras, when we talk about the Deborahs, these are not just random chicks running around. These are our mothers who gave instruction to Israel. So I tell people, if you're in a camp, if you don't have a father, especially if you're a sister, if you don't have a father, don't go willy-nilly out here saying, oh, no, go to your elder and say, yes, this is my covering. Brother, if you want to talk to me, you come to the elder. Do not allow people to kind of take you out from under that authority and have you just out in the streets willy-nilly waiting for some brother to just scoop you up. No, you have to go through this elder.
Question for you, Chief. What you just said, I got a question. What if the woman, this is a lot of women in the truth and outside of the truth that might be interested in coming in the truth. What if they are not in a camp or have an elder or anything like that? What would be your advice for them? What would you advise them? What direction or how to move in that case? Like you're showing right now, if a woman is in a camp or something like that, and she doesn't have a father, then the elders are that. What about a woman that's not in the camp?
It would be pretty much the same.
And don't have brothers that's like, on point, uncles that's on point. What if she's just by herself? How would you suggest she move? Because we do know it might not be a lot of righteous brothers out there that's going to be like, hey, you know what? I want you to meet my elder. So what, how would you? Yeah.
Like, so if I'm having a conversation, let's say with a sister, and she's just come in and she's like, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be listening to her as far as where her understanding is in this walk. What is her sensibilities? Like, and I'll be honest, listen, I'm a Tanakh based Israelite. The Tanakh is the center of everything I do. I'm talking to somebody who, let's say if this sister, accepts the Tanakh, but she's also, she also accepts the New Testament, for instance. I'm going to tell her that she needs to join with a community, a congregation, a camp for the initial covering. I'm going to, right off rip, she needs to attach herself to a camp or a congregation, whatever term we want to use. Even if we feel sometimes people are like, yo, but some of these camps some of these camps, yes, right. Some of them might have issues, whatever like that. But I can guarantee you one thing, it's a whole lot better than being alone in them streets. So no, I would tell a sister, no, you need to do what our ancestors, in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, we read what? Do not stay aloof from the community. Do not stay away from the people. So the first thing that I would tell a sister, and the same thing I would tell a brother, be like, no, don't go out here winging it because you will fail. Go attach yourself to a camp. Go attach yourself to a congregation. And when I say attach, I don't necessarily mean that you have to stay there permanently, meaning just go sojourn with them. See if that camp or community is in alignment with your spirit and how you're trying to move or whatever like that. But at least you'll have that covering. At least you'll have checks and balances. You'll have brotherhood there. You'll have sisters there that you can link to and see where you fit in the community amongst those sisters. That's the first thing. The first thing that we, the first thing that the Most High gave Israel was what? Community. Before we had law, he had to gather us out of Egypt and let us know that you're going to move as a unit now. So this is what, you know, so this is what I would tell a brother, or in this case, a sister, right off rip, you say, you know, go amongst the community, find a congregation, find a community, find a Knesset, a temple, or whatever, a camp that you can study amongst, or whatever, see what agrees with your spirit, agrees with how you're trying to move as an Israelite. And once you, from there, that's when you form familial alliances. This is when you start to link up with sisters, and this sister, she becomes a mother to you. This brother over here, or this elder, he becomes a father figure to you to give you that guidance in the community. So that's the first thing that I would give them. Anything else other than that, you're setting them up for possible destruction, because you're literally sending them out possibly amongst wolves, people with no eldership that's over them, with checks and balances that'll, you see what I'm saying? So yes, that's the first thing that I would do for a sister like that.
Appreciate you. Those that are tuning in or looking back now, we are talking about rules of engagement, a few different topics, concerning these matters. So again, welcome to YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscious, it is not acceptable. Did anyone have anything else to say as far as this first topic? We're going to go ahead and go to the next topic. If not, I will continue. All right. So, beautiful comments, responses, thoughts. The next topic is, should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? If so, how? Again, should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? I'm going to move the order around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start it off, y'all. I'm going to start it off, if it's okay with y'all. So should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? Now I see why you're saying rabbit hole, Chief. Because there's so many...
Yeah.
So many ways to go with it, but y'all know me. I'm going to tackle them all. Here we go. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Should the father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? I'm going to say it depends. It depends on a few things. If you are a Israelite male or a Israelite male, then if this daughter is coming into this knowledge and she is a virgin, I would. Now this is me. This is me. I want to see what you all are going to say, but this is me. I would say yes. I would say yes. Even if he's not in a walk, it'll be your job as the Israelite to come with Hebraic decorum and operate in such. Of course, talk with your elder. Get some advice from your elder in regards to any moves that you make. A lot of us as men, we don't want to do that because we feel that we know everything. Men and women alike, but I'm just speaking for the men right now. So I always go that route. Now, if she is not, and say that she's not, and she was married, and she went back in her father's home, that's a tough one. I have my opinion on it, but this is online, so I don't want to really spew out what I really want to say. I'm going to pass that along to Chief, who is over me. So I'm gonna wait till I bring him on to kind of tackle having he go present it and see what he says. But I have my thoughts on it. I just don't want to put bad information out there per se. I want to really think on it. So if she's going back to the home and she was married, if she's contributing to the home, I can answer it that way. Yeah. So if she's contributing to the home, to her father's home, you should do something in regards to compensating that father, because she's actually contributing to the home, and you're taking away from the home.
Right.
Oh, see, so I guess I'm on point. Chief jumped in on that one. The other one he didn't know, so that's good. So you're taking away from the home. That's my answer. I'm gonna make it short and brief. That's my answer. Should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? If so, how? So I believe if this daughter is contributing to the home, she's in her father's home, and you're marrying her, it should be some type of form of compensation. I don't know if it should be the same type of compensation if she was a virgin. But if she's not a virgin and she's still contributing and she's living with her father, it should be something. What? I'm not going to say, but I gave you enough. I'm going to pass the mic to Achot Sharon.
When I hear this topic, when I see this topic, I immediately think about Yaakov when he served Rachel and Leah's father Laban for those 7 years. I absolutely agree. A father should be compensated for, if an Aki wants to marry his daughter, whether it be financial compensation or whether it be physical compensation. Yaakov compensated physically. Absolutely, especially if she's a virgin. Now let's go on a topic. If she isn't a virgin, should he still be compensated? Absolutely. It may not be as severe. The compensation may not be as severe as as a virgin daughter, but something should be compensated. Absolutely. I agree with that. Whether it be physical labor or financial compensation.
I want to throw a curveball at you. You ready for my curveball? You got your mitt?
Uh-huh.
All right. Here go the curveball. Because this actually happened to me. This literally happened to me. And I'm going to share it with you all. Chief heard the story, but I want to know what you think, because you've been in this longer than I have, and you give some great answers. So here go the curveball. What if father's not in the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, no. Let's just say the father is in the picture, but in my case, the father wasn't in the picture. But just say the father is in the picture, and the daughter does not live with the father, has 2 children, don't live with the father, been living on her own for however many years. Does the father still get something?
What are the terms of the father and daughter relationship? I would like to inquire about that.
Ooh, I know. See, you smart. I know you. Ooh,
because why isn't she home with her father? Why is she out of his home?
I love it.
So I would like to inquire about their father and daughter relationship first before I can kind of like further on give a solid answer to that. However,
go ahead.
Whether they have a good relationship or not, it would be an honorable thing to still be compensated.
I love it. I love your answer. And then I think that the answer you gave before I asked that question also agrees with, even if you didn't agree, but it agrees with what I'm trying to say too, because I think that any honorable, especially Israelite, anybody who operates within our culture is going to, even if the relationship is like okay and not great, is going to try to reach out to that father.
Okay.
And also is going to, I have, my mind is a little different sometimes too, so, but I'm not going to speak on that, but it's going to reach out and it's going to do some type of gesture.
Okay.
Now, is he going to do the same thing that we do in Torah? If the woman been living on all this stuff, but the gesture and showing appreciation to, I agree wholeheartedly. Cool. All right, so let's pass the mic to Gebera. Kathy, you want to go or you want me to pass it to Chief? Which one you want? You muted too, by the way. I just want you to know that.
I'm gonna pass it to Chief. I want to listen to what he have to say. I'm taking a couple of notes off of your comments, and Sister Sharon's comments, and I'll fall back. I'll let Chief go in.
Okay. All right, Chief.
Okay, Torah. Should a father be compensated for his daughter's hand in marriage today? If so, how? Under best case circumstances, absolutely. Worst case scenarios, it's kind of a case by case. It's literally case by case. But I do agree that at the very least, that some type of compensation, some type of gesture. I mean, just out of our own righteousness, like, hey, listen. And I was actually going to and Sister Sharon, she was right on the money. I was going right to Yaakov to say that Laban's compensation was Yaakov's labor for 14 years. It should have been 7. Of course, Laban pulled a real slick move. He pulled a real tricky move on Yaakov, whatever. But that was the compensation. It was like, hey, you served me for 7 years, and I'll give you this. A verbal contract was already established right there. So no, absolutely, some type of compensation has to be brought forth. Now, on what level? That's where it gets tricky. And I think when y'all brought up the point of what if the woman is not a virgin? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's I think our ancestors, many of our post-exilic ancestors, they had to wrestle with these questions. Hence why, the Mishnah and all of this stuff ended up getting drafted up centuries later. They had to figure out, okay, well, we're not in the times of our fathers and mothers, back then. Now here we are, we're amongst the Persian, we're in the Persian Empire, we're in the Greek Empire. How do we put this in motion? How do we make it relevant for our time? Because we still got to keep these laws, but how are we going to do it today? Now, here we are in 2021. It's substantially worse. I mean, and not to, I don't want to be crude with this, but you got brothers and sisters who are coming to the table with massive body counts. Massive body counts. And you be like, wow, sis, wow, brother, you only 25 and you done been with an equal amount of individuals. Like, and I'll give you the example. The example I'll give you is the example of, I've heard this before. I'm not going to say who, because it might, people who are listening, be like, but somebody gave a good example about a car dealership. You go to a car dealership going to get a brand new, I don't know, whatever, Mercedes or whatever your car choice is, brand new. So you're going for let's say, I don't know, the 2021 Honda Accord, for instance, I don't know. And the dealership is like, yeah, well, we don't have the new, Honda Accords, but we have this 1998 Honda Accord. It's got 120,000 miles on it. Now, that might, Hondas are great. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, yeah, okay. Now, what if he's trying to charge you the same price for a brand new Honda? And say, okay, yeah, that'll be 45,000. You're gonna be like, excuse me, for what? For a 1998 Honda with 100,000 miles on it? That's not gonna work. Why? It's still a great vehicle, but it's not new. I'm not paying new money for a vehicle. It doesn't even have to be vehicles. It could be anything in life. You know what I'm saying? The payment should be commensurate with the quality, and it should be commensurate with the quality of the product. That's just business, period.
They're not gonna like that, Chief. They're not gonna like the logic behind it. They're not gonna like the logic.
No, and listen, and I understand it, and I understand why would like, because nobody listen. As a man, I wouldn't want a woman to be like, oh yeah, when you back in the days, you was with this chick, and you was out there whoremongering, because it's like, you don't really want that title on you. Like, okay, yeah, I did what I did back then. Okay, but I'm not the same person. So I know how it feels. Nobody wants to feel like, damn, I'm washed up and I got 200,000 miles on my on the vehicle, whatever the case may be. You ready? Nobody wants.
See, I'm laughing because although you talking about people, you still talking about vehicles and stuff. We know I got 200 miles on the vehicle. You talking about the person?
Yeah,
I love
listen,
it.
Because you know what? Because listen, and not to get too far into this, because I want to keep it on, on the issue of compensating fathers for for their daughter's hand. But to be fair, when we're talking about when I use the example of the vehicle, you get to you get to talking to sisters. No woman is fond of being with a man who done been with all types of females over the years. Women are like, that's kind of a turnoff. You be like, damn, because what does it show? It shows that that man had no self-control. And him not having self-control in the mind of a woman who wants a man who is upstanding, she has to question his integrity, because she's like, well, if he didn't have control then, who's to say that he has control now? So this, I don't want us to make it sound like it's just one-sided. A woman is going to be like, she's going to look at the miles on that vehicle and be like, I don't know, what I'm saying, maybe, but I'm not, it ain't no brand new vehicle. It's not brand new, and I'm not paying brand new prices for something that should be in JD Byrider. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I think that any type of compensation to the woman's father or whatever, the compensation has to be commensurate with what the man is receiving. Now, if this sister has, she has a little experience, I mean, it happens. We're in America. This is a different time. If she's had experience or whatever like that, you look at other things like, okay, well, she doesn't have any children, or she might just have one child and whatever. Those things you can work, though. You can work around those. But now, if she has high body count and she got 4 or 5 children from 4 or 5 different dudes, then you're like, I don't know. That's shaky. Because again, it shows lack of control. So again, I think that that there should be compensation to the father or whoever the woman's head is, whether it's the elder or whoever, or a sister mother, a queen mother, for instance, whoever her head is, whoever is giving her direction. Yes, there should be compensation, but it should be also commensurate with what's being received at the same time.
I got a question, real quick question for you and our coach Sharon, because you all been in it longer than me and the better Kathy. So I actually want both of you to answer this before I pass the mic to the better Kathy. What would you advise, like to the examples both of you kind of was given, what kind of gesture would you, advise someone to give to a father that maybe is or not is? I'm giving you 2 scenarios: is in the truth or not in the truth, and the daughter is not a virgin. So if the daughter is not a virgin, what kind of gesture would you 2 advise to give to a woman that's not a virgin, that is in the truth,
right,
that might have children, and is not in the truth, that's trying to come in the truth, that does not have children? Because we all know how it goes with the Torah, but we know, like you explained, Chief Zeb, and I think Akko Sharon might have brought out as well, it's different today in a sense. So what kind of gesture would you say? Because it's not going to be the same price. It ain't going to be that stuff.
Right.
But y'all correct me if I'm wrong, and can you all let us know what you all think? Because you all are the veterans before me and Gebet, Kathy, so I'm humbly asking, because me, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. But if you got a better example, I'm gonna go ahead and try to go with y'all because y'all better than longer. But if you don't tell me, I'm gonna give my gesture, but I'm gonna make sure I do a gesture. With that, I yield.
Yeah, Moray. Let's hear your gesture.
Dang, why you put me out like that? I was trying to put you out
you
first.
ain't the only one that can throw curveballs now.
Hey, you didn't give me a curveball. You gave me a slider. She gave me a slider.
Hold on. You got it.
You know what? It's a great question. I'm glad she asked me that before Chief started bringing his out. Because here's the thing that I'm looking at too. What if you do get somebody that's not in the truth? Mm-hmm. And then you come to the Father, and then you try to bring a gesture, whether it might be something that's special or money. Then they looking at you like, what the heck you bringing money? Mm-hmm. And then that money ain't enough. You bring, I don't know, a few thousand, less than 1,000, whatever it is. Like, my daughter way worth this, but he don't understand that it's not about the money. It's about the gesture, but it's also about just showing, showing what you can, that you're capable financially as well too. So
right.
In that example that I just brought out, that's a tough one. So I would rather try to find out what the Father is into.
Okay.
Ooh, right you already had the answer, didn't you? You was waiting on. You was trying to see how smart I was.
I like that.
I would try to see what he's into. What's one of his favorite things, and
bingo.
And then I will roll with that. I will roll with something along those lines. And honestly, I just thought about that right now. I never thought about that until now.
Okay, Moray, you hit it right on the nose. That was going to be my exact comment, is to kind of make a gesture and to see what the Father is into.
Right.
Even if he's not in the truth, kind of like explain the culture of the courting process to the Father, and kind of like put it on the table and see what his proposition may be for you to marry his daughter, especially if she's a virgin. If she isn't a virgin, still make that type, still approach with that same gesture.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of put it in her Abba's, in her Abba's court. Put the ball in his court to see how he would like to approach the situation as far as you marrying his daughter.
And let me jump in real quick for those that's listening, that's watching. If you're not familiar with Hebrew, Abba is one of the forms of saying Father in Hebrew. Abba. Just want y'all to know. And also, this is a great show. If it ain't YAH Conscience Radio, it ain't acceptable, man. Look at the stuff we talking about. This is amazing. You can't tell me this is not beneficial. But go ahead, Akko Sharon, if you got anything else to say, or we could pass it to Chief, and then Kathy.
Okay, we can pass it to Chief.
I'm pretty much in the same wavelength with that. I think one of the most underrated elements of Hebraic marriage is the interaction between the prospective husband and the father. Again, whether it's the biological father, whether it's the elder, whichever that situation is, but whoever is that woman's head or covering, the interaction between the two has to be a thorough one, because at the end of the day, this is a contract. This is a covenant, and nobody, in business, nobody goes into or should go into any type of business contract without reading the fine print, without having a sit down meeting with the individual, breaking bread. Let's go out and get a drink, whatever like that, and let's talk. You know what I'm saying? Get to know, because again, this, because you're not just marrying the woman. I mean, you're marrying her. This is, you know what I'm saying, she's coming under your headship and under your covenant covering, but her father is still her Lord. So he has to be a part of the family dynamic. Just because You know what I'm saying? Just because the woman or the man leaves their father and mother and cleaves to each other doesn't mean that the parents are out of the picture. It means that they're still an integral part of the family, because that's how communities move. So I'm of the same understanding that it might be a thing where, like, hey, let's go out, let's go out and get something to eat. Let's go, I don't know, go watch a game, or whatever. If he's into baseball, football, whatever the case would be.
I was just about to say what you said, Chief. Baseball. Take him to a baseball game or something. You know what I'm saying?
Game. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And because, again, not only is it a business, I actually lost the word I was going to use, but it's not only just a business transaction, but it's a familial building blocks that we're dealing with. So I have to get to know her father on a level that's similar to getting to know her, because this is family. And this is something that we don't see amongst our people today, because unfortunately, when you have a situation where fathers are not in the lives of their children, or if, or in a situation where mothers are bringing all types of men through the house, so these children, the understanding, the vitality of a father is downplayed because of these things. And we have to speak on this and say, well, no, we this woman can only be involved with this brother if it is okayed by the hand of her father or her elder, or even if it's not the father, it could very well be the mother. Because let's say the father is not available. Let's say this prospective sister, she's not under any male leadership. Let's say the only person that knows her and that has been able to work with her, let's say it's her mother. Now, how would we approach that? It might be a situation where where I may have, like if it was me, I might have to bring in an elder sister from the community to have that interaction with the mother, because I can't have, like I'm not gonna be, taking her mother out on a date somewhere, like, hey, let's go out and talk, like, it would require maybe bringing in an elder sister from the community to sit down, in the process and have these discussions with them. But the important thing, of course, is, through all of this, the important thing is being able to introduce whoever that woman's head is, whoever the sister's head is, or covering, introduce them into the mix, and to sit down, get to know them, get to know what it is that they like, what it is that they love, what it is that they're expecting their daughter to be involved with marriage-wise. All of these things have to be discussed. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that, because I pretty much y'all already
bring the fire down, Chief. Let's bring the fire down.
No, because because Sister Sharon, she already kind of, she put hers, and then of course y'all. So there's not really much else for me to bring out. I'm in complete agreement.
Yeah, Sister, I Coach Sharon, you know what? You a problem, but you a good problem though. She gave that question. She hit me with that slider. She said, "I ain't hitting them with no curve. It's straight slider." I feel like a slider harder than a curveball. Like a curve, and it just
I didn't know that's what you call it.
But real quick, we gotta pass the mic to Gabert and Kathy. But Kathy, give me 1 second. I want to have them answer one more question. It was by Morethan, which I feel like Morethan knows the answer, but he's a teacher as well. That's for those that's watching. That's what Moret is, a teacher. So he put this question out for a reason. So I mean, Gabert and Kathy, you can answer this question as well when you speak. If you feel you have the answer, me, I'm gonna sit back. I'm a More, but I'm trying to teach the other future Moreem, that's plural, and people like, if you don't know, just say you don't know. Let the people that's over you bring it out. All right, so the question was, how many, she just fell out. Hopefully she'll come back in. I was trying to let her hear the question too. How many dowry fees? This is actually funny, by the way. It's not funny, but I know my man's he's a great teacher, but he's funny too. Here she go. I was waiting for her to come back in. There we go. All right, I waited on you. I waited on you before I even read the question. How many dowry fees can a woman get? Like if she gets divorced, does the father get paid multiple times for every marriage? That's actually an excellent question. It says, how many dowry fees can a woman get? Basically, if she's married 1 time, 2 times, 3, does the father get a dowry for each one?
Great question. Great question.
One, right?
I'm gonna leave it to you.
No, sister. No, if Sister Sharon want to get it, I mean, we both gonna get it, but.
I would have to.
I got an answer too. When y'all done, when everybody done talking, I got an answer too.
I would have to say it's one set dowry fee, only one. And that one fee is under certain stipulations as well. So we can't forget those stipulations. If a woman is a virgin, that's the only time when she gets a dowry fee. Because if she divorced, obviously she's not a virgin anymore. So those dowry fees are non-transferable. You can't transfer those fees.
That's right.
And that's pretty much what I had to say about that. Yeah. No multiple fees, only one, but it's based off a certain stipulation, which is she must be a virgin.
Hey, real quick, yeah. I love her, Chief. Real quick, I love her answer because she's in the same realm, and I hope I got her right. Notice she said the virgin, because if it's not a virgin, then it goes there. And correct me, I quote sis. I quote the sister. For those that's watching, I quote is sister in Hebrew. So if it's not a virgin, then it goes into more so gestures. Is that what you're saying? Boom.
Okay.
You know
if she's not a virgin, goes more into gestures and kind of like displaying an honorable characteristic about yourself. Okay.
Appreciate you.
There you go.
That is the shortest response Chief Zebulon has ever gave. That was his answer. He said, there you go. All right, Commander Captain, we are passing the mic to you. Sorry for that long, I don't know how long it was, but we're passing the mic to you. And you're on mute too, by the way.
Got it. So before I forget, my question in response to what Chief and Sister Sharon was just talking about in regards to not being a virgin and remarrying again, how does that fall under if that woman moves back into her father's household and she is contributing and that woman's again being taken out of that household? So if someone may, it was Chief, because I'm trying to write down who says what, but it was Chief says that she's making a contribution to the household, and then that they definitely should be compensated. So again, going back into the household, how does that fall?
Chief, I'm Slicker. Chief Zabula, you want to take this?
Yeah. So just so I can understand what
this is amazing. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. I call Kathy. Bring your question back, because I want to make sure that I understand exactly where this is going. This is rabbit hole.
So my sister said it was presented. Should the father or the household be compensated twice? Yes, right. Definitely upon a virgin being delivered.
Right.
Okay. But okay, what about if not a virgin or someone that's divorced and returned back to that household and then given away again? Do you not still compensate them? You know what I mean? For that, I mean, like that's a whole totally different.
Chief, can I get it, Chief? Or you go? Can I get it, Chief?
Okay.
Chief,
I think I want some of this too. But I'm gonna stand down.
I'm gonna stand down if Chief tell me to. But I'm like, y'all, remember, in the cities when they be jumping rope and people be going like that. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Double dutching.
Let me know, Chief. You go ahead if you got it. I know you do though.
No. Go ahead. No, be my guest, brother.
All right, so I might be wrong when I say this, but I love that you brought that out, and it kind of goes into what I had said, because I don't know if Chief said something else after me, but I did bring that part up as far as if they go back to the house and they're contributing. I'm going to say, and I Coach Sharon, give me 1 second. Let me say this, because I'm still on board with me and you. If she's contributing towards the home and bringing financial additions, you know what I'm saying, to the home, then perhaps it should be financial. I'm saying perhaps. You know, I had to go in the Mishnah to see if they got anything on this. I know in the Torah, I don't believe it's anything on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, both of you. But if it's going back to the house and contributing to a financial state to the house, and you pull from it, and her contribution actually brings forth financial stability, financial addition, then perhaps. But if not, then no. That's my opinion. Then it'll be gesture. It'll still be on gesture. That's my opinion. Chief, I want to see what you got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think, you know, one of the things that we also got to consider is, you know, what were the grounds for the person being divorced?
Come on. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
come on,
because
Pain,
you know,
pain.
like what are the, and again, this goes back to why, you know, why YAH, obviously through the you know, the hand and in the authority of Moshe, why it was established that there should be judges in all your gates, because none of these Torah situations are clear cut. Why? Because life is not clear cut. There's so much gray areas in life. So if a person says, if they're looking at the woman, they're like, oh yeah, oh, she's divorced, she don't get nothing. It's like, well, wait a minute. Just because she's divorced doesn't mean that she was the one who violated the marriage. So let's say if she was married to a dude, and you know, dude who was wicked as hell, and she was able to get, you know what I'm saying, able to get a bill of divorce, and that kind of goes down a whole other rabbit hole as far as, can women actually give a man a bill of divorce?
We're gonna have to put that on other shows, because we creating a lot of holes, man. We about to
right. But like, so if she's able to get out of that marriage, and she goes back to her father's house, she cannot be judged by the same standards as, let's say, a woman who is a flipping whore, and her husband was like, yo, you damn whore, divorce you, get out of my house, whatever. These two women cannot be, you know what I'm saying, they cannot be rewarded on the same level. The woman who was divorced because she had a wayward husband, or a husband who was an idolater or adulterer or whatever the case, she was not wrong in the situation. So even though she's no longer a virgin, she should still be on the second time around, she should still be treated along those lines, because she was not in violation. So, and I'm just giving, this is my you know, my Pharisaic approach to the situation, how I would view it. Whereas
you a Pharisee, Chief? You a Pharisee? You know they was wrong.
I know, right? That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But
real quick, before you finish, those that's tuning in, welcome. We have a few more viewers. This is YAH Conscience Radio. If it's not YAH Conscience, it's not acceptable. Make sure, if you have not been here from the beginning, go back when we're done and watch what you missed, because there was a lot of stuff said by the Chief Zebulon, the better Kathy, Ako Sharon, some amazing things said. So make sure you tune back in. We had a couple topics before this, okay? Salahli, Chief.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, but that, you know, the first thing that has to be asked is, you know, what is, you know what I'm saying, what is the character, you know what I'm saying, of the woman, you know what I'm saying, of the divorced woman? Why was she divorced? Now, of course, this goes into the whole bill of divorce, and why in a bill of divorce, all of the reasons for the divorce must be listed, so that the next person, so when she goes and remarries, the next man can see, oh, you were married? Oh, well, why'd you get divorced? Yeah, well, let me see your bill of divorce. Let me find out what happened. And the same thing with the man. The husband has his copy of the bill. So when he goes to the father of the next woman, and he's like, well, wait a minute, were you not married before? Yeah. Well, I'm gonna need to see that bill of divorce. I want to see, what were you doing with your previous wife? Because that's gonna tell me what you may do with my daughter. So there's so many dynamics.
Oh man.
There's so many dynamics that's involved in a situation like that. So so again, whether a divorced woman can get a second dowry, and we got to remember, dowry is nothing more than a gift. The Hebrew word they use is matan. Matan is a gift. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be monetary. It could be anything, any type of gesture to say, hey, this is what I'm offering to you as a gesture to receive your daughter under my covering. But again, the woman, the woman who is divorced, you'd have to figure out, why was she divorced, and why was she divorced will tell you if she's even worthy to get a second gift. If she was an adulteress, she should get nothing. She should be happy that she hasn't been stoned to death.
True.
So I mean, so all of these things have to be considered before we would make a judgment call on that. But generally speaking, if a sister comes, if she's divorced but she came out of that divorce on the righteous side of it, and it was the fault of the male, of the man or whatever, then my judgment would be that although she's no longer a virgin, but she should still be treated along those same lines, because she did nothing to defame her name.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Love it. Better Kathy, we're passing it to you. Again, sorry for the extra minutes. Go ahead though. We got you. You are on mute.
I am on mute. I'm off of mute now. No, wow. I am really sitting here taking notes. I'm intrigued by the responses. I'm all over the place, and not all over the place in a bad way. I want to back up for a second and give my sister Sharon and her husband YAH credit, because how we were speaking about how someone should be brought in and how you guys defined that today. I am very pleased to know that was definitely how I was brought in. Her husband being one of the elders in our congregation, and she, of course, being one of the sisters. Even though there's an age difference, she's still my elder in regards to the knowledge that she has. So that makes me feel good that I can check that off, that I was brought in in that aspect of how we discussed it. Especially for me as a female, Kathy, not having a father or a family that was brought up in the understanding. And then to move into, I expressed it to my husband that my father was not part of this understanding. There was a little bit of roughness around the edges. My husband still insisted on meeting my father. He did. We dined together. We talked together.
All praises to your husband. All praises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very, very nervous, but he insisted on that. And so we followed through with those plans. We broke bread together. We discussed now my level of understanding versus of how I was brought up. And I really appreciated him being to my left and to my right and my center and everything, because I was presented with a lot of questions that I was not able to answer, but I felt in my heart that was right and that I was doing the right thing. So after my husband met with my father, the second most important thing that was important to me, I have 2 sons, and my sons are my world. I know now why I raised my sons the way that I did. I've always been under the Most High thumb, and I never knew why. Now I know why I'm special, but I raised them and not even having this level of understanding, but so similar just to how they should conduct their lives as men and treating women and conducting themselves. They were the most important to me, in making sure that my husband spoke to them, and he spoke to them, and both of them are very different in personality. And it made me feel very good that when he walked away with conversing with both of them, that my sons, for the first time, I'm not going to say the first time, but in a while, they, separation with their father, they were happy. And they were happy because there was a foundation there. Their mother wasn't calling them, talking about, I'm in love. I love him. He loves me. It's blah, blah, blah. It was a deeper foundation. And it was the foundation of the Most High. That was the beginning of our conversation. And I am that woman that knew Christianity, and my husband knew the Torah. It was the best thing that ever happened in my life. Because now when I go through, I have an understanding of why I go through. Checking myself first. And as long as I'm in line, then I can definitely say, if I'm in line, then this word that the Most High has spoken and has written is going to come to true. So I'm good. My sister Sharon and her husband YAH helped me, were a part of my growth, and continue to be a part of her growth. And so was her father, the Most High rest his soul, Adon Age. I presented these questions, y'all, just because the way that I was brought in. And like I said, I am really baffled by the conversation and the results. I feel good because I wanted to know what elders thought or experienced people thought. And I looked to my husband, who's always to the left or either to the right of me, and I'm just like, okay, you did this. You did this right. You did this, accordingly. And I have a right to ask him because I'm doing it.
Is he there right now?
Yes, he is.
Tell him we said shalom. All praises to the Most High for bringing him and having him to operate how he did with his Shah. And I think it's amazing that the stuff that we're saying and Chief Zebulon and Akko Sharon is saying is actually what he did. That shows that there are righteous men out there. There are righteous men and there are righteous women out there as well. They're there.
Contrary to what Facebook says.
Right. According to the fishbowl. That's why I was saying earlier with the fishbowl. I got that from Chief Zebulon. Move that around. You got Gabarit Kathy just said she came from a certain stance, and this man said, no, I need to meet your father. How many people in the modern world, whether it's outside of our culture or even in our culture, and I'm gonna say that slightly because again, Chief Zebulon gonna be like, look, I taught you about the fishbowl. So I know it's men that do that, but all praise to the Most High for your husband and your testimony. Continue. I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to give him honor too, because he's right.
I appreciate that, and he cracked the tough nut because when we speak, my father is like, "How's Melachishua? How is he?" I think they also see a stability and a certain level of confidence and faith increase in my life. They see a better, and he is my better half. So I kind of just wanted to present that, that there are still good men out there. And like I said, with my sister Sharon and especially Chief and yourself, Moray, bringing out how you guys felt the process should take or should occur, and and giving me the different examples. Like I'm humble. I feel good. And again, I got to continue to give shout out to my sister Sharon and her husband, Rayab, because what my husband did, Rayab, her husband is his best friend. It was like, before we take you home, Tamika Don H, which was the chief of all chiefs, you got to meet this woman. And both of them have continued to be a positive reinforcement, in both of our lives. And this hit home. And like I said, that's why I wanted to present these questions, just to get my brothers and my sisters' opinion of it. And I'm going to bow out gracefully. Thank you so much for this.
Hallelujah. These questions was amazing. And I love the fact that we all are exchanging questions, and it shows our personalities, it shows our thoughts, it shows our concerns, and it shows that we are very intellectual too, because your question was challenging. I love it. And it brings these same questions that we bring forth. As people are thinking these things, and you did an amazing job, but we're not done. We have one more question, and we're going to go to it. One more question. All right. So the next question is, let me go ahead and bring it on the screen for you all. What is the she bringing these questions. She bringing these questions back. What is the correct ceremony for an Israelite man and woman to marry today? Did I read that right? What is the correct ceremony for an Israelite man and woman to marry today? If joined by an Israelite elder, does it hold up in America's court? Whew. All right, so I coach Sharon. I'm bringing you in.
You coming for me
with that slide? I gotta slide in and make you go first.
Okay, I'm waiting for the question to come back on the screen. Okay, so what is the correct ceremony for an Israelite man and woman to marry today?
If joined by an Israelite elder, does it hold up in America's court too? Part 2.
Ooh, let's see.
I love this question.
Woo. Woo, all right.
Let's do this. Let me throw some context in there. Even though I didn't write it, I want to throw some context in there for you. I want you, if you're okay with it, to answer it subjectively, but objectively at the same time. So what's your thoughts on what is the correct way to have a ceremony as an Israelite man and a woman today? So what's your thoughts on what's the correct ceremony for an Israelite? How should we do it? Israelite man and woman, how should they marry today? What's the correct way? And then to part 2, the same thing that she said, if joined by an Israelite elder, does that correct ceremony, right? Or does their marriage in general hold up in America's court or in the court system of America, whichever one?
Okay, I had to step out the room for a second. I would on a larger scale, just solely for our Israel community, I would have to say that is kind of like subjective, meaning it all depends on the individual, on what they deem is correct for them. However, a universal correction, a universal appropriation to the situation would be, it has to be a ketubah intermingled somewhere in the ceremony. So let me tell you about a time when I witnessed my brother. He was getting married to his now wife in New York, and we had her Abba, my Abba. We had the elder who was going to marry her. Marry them, and they had a long ketubah where both of them partake in signing it together. So I would have to say the ceremony solely depends on the individual and how they interpret what's correct to them. However, it has to be a ketubah inserted somewhere in that ceremony. So I would have to say it's subjective towards the depending on the individuals at hand.
And the second part to that question, I ain't gonna let you go off that easy. We got to hit all these questions. You know what I'm saying? And those that's listening in that has a similar experience or not a similar experience or just coming in. Because I guarantee you, a lot of people have the same questions that she asked. The second part to the question is, if joined by that Israelite elder that you spoke of, does it hold up in the court system, in America's court?
I would have to say yay and nay. The reason why I say yay.
She's something else, man. She'll be on point. You be on point. I'm sorry.
The reason why I say yay, because I'm not going to say a lot, but the majority of the elders, the majority of the fathers who wish to marry their daughters off in presence of the elder, a lot of them wish, not a lot of them, not wish, I'm sleeker, I'm all over the place with this. Most of them want them to be legally binded in their marriage, meaning they want them to be consummated under our Torah law and legally binded under America's, because this is the land that we are still living in. So say if we have, just say we have a detrimental case of whatever may cause through your marriage, while we still living in this land, we still want that same security. Where Torah laws, I'm gonna be real. Let's keep it honest. Let's keep it real. How much security do a woman have once she divorced from a man versus the security that she has when she divorced from a husband under the America's court? That's one of my questions.
Right.
I say nay because our laws and our divorce reasons are totally different. Totally different. So how America court, you can divorce your husband if you find him cheating, or if he's, if it's an infidelity going on. Where Torah law and Torah court, not so much. You ain't getting off that easy. Not so much. Even though it's a situation where, it's some dishonesty, it's some untrustworthiness going on, but it's not, it is not eligible for divorce. So to me, it's 50-50 to me. Yay and nay. It depends.
All right. Look, I'm gonna come in and be real brief, Chief. I got to try to prove you wrong, Chief. You write a lot, so I got to try to prove you wrong on this. I'm gonna go ahead because I know this is Gaberta Kathy's question, and she really want to know what our thoughts on it before she bring hers, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Before I continue, okay, cool. I love what she brought out, and I'm gonna answer that question she said too. Now, what she brought out, facts. According to our culture, I agree with it 100%. In today's culture, what I think a lot of people, men and women alike, they don't understand, and this is when you got to study different types of laws and just think about, use the system, use what they got to offer. So a question would be, okay, you get a wife, you don't get married by the court system. If you die, how is she protected? Right? Simple. Two things. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I do know that some of you are more advanced than I am. You have life insurance. I paused there for a reason. I just wanted to pause. You have life insurance that you can make sure it's in that wife's name. That's one. And then, my bad, I was muting myself. And then you have, wait for it, a will. Life insurance and a will.
Yep.
Now, this is not to say I don't agree to get married under the courts, but this is what I'm providing for people that might have that question, which is a valid question and a great question. The woman can still be protected. And that's actually by using the system itself. Life insurance and a will. Get it notarized. you get it notarized, it will be valid in the America's court. And if there's any lawyers that's listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my studies, that's what I got out of it. So for me, I'm gonna be honest with me. Any of my future wife, let me back up. My future wife, I'm going to probably leave it in her hands to if she wants us to go through the court. I don't want to go through the court, but I will make sure she's fully protected, and that's going to be from life insurance and a will, and making sure it's notarized. And I'm going to get as many witnesses as I can to sign signatures to validate what it is that I want to happen if I die. They cannot negate the witnesses, in addition to the life insurance, in addition to the will. And with that, I yield. I'm going to pass the mic to whoever wants to speak. Chief, you got it?
Okay. Listen. On both ends, great stuff. Because hold on one second, Aki. Hold on.
No, you good. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. I'm passing the mic to you, Ako.
Oh, okay. I thought Chief was about to come on. Okay, so really quick. The sex is marriage doctrine.
We can't hear you for some reason.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah. We can hear you now.
Okay. The sex is marriage. The sex is marriage doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
What is a woman supposed to do if sex is marriage,
mm-hmm,
and versus a ketubah? If sex is marriage, is a ketubah really necessary to consummate that marriage?
Ooh, that's a rabbit hole too. And if Prince
I was going to touch that too. Wow.
I have an answer. I got an answer. It'll be a quick answer.
I yield.
No, it's a great question. Now, this is the problem. This is the problem with that. Not the problem with the question, but the problem with the outcome. Let me mute you a second. Let me mute you. Okay, there we go. The question is amazing. The question is true. And this is the problem. And the message that I try to push so much, I feel for women and some men, but I definitely feel for women. It goes into what we've been talking about this whole time. Eldership. Culture is eldership. Stop trying to make moves without eldership or righteous eldership, right? I should say righteous eldership because every elder is not righteous. If a man is coming to you and you say, hey, I need you to talk to my elder, you're going to know if it's a good man, if he's going to say yes or no. That's one. Now, going into what you had said about the ketubah and the sex is marriage, I don't believe that sex is marriage. The way that it's taught, it's a part of fulfilling the whole process. She left. I need her to hear what I'm saying. She gonna come back. I want to hold it. Just for one.
Yeah,
second.
hold it. Because I think that was important.
Yeah, she's coming right back. There we go. We waited on you. I hooked. All right, so let me finish. And I stand firm on what I'm going to say. I stand firm. I could show it in Torah. Trust me. You don't want to mess with me on this. I understand that's what it's taught, that sex is marriage. It is a part of it, and it does fulfill it. But I believe in ketubas or contracts. I believe in a whole process for that to happen, because if you just teaching that sex is marriage, you can leave at any time. You don't got no accountability. Now the woman messed up. If a man is not talking to you in the way that Gebetta Kathy brought out with her husband, going through different steps, in the way that you probably experienced too, I Coach Sharon, though, for those that's listening, if they're not going through those processes, if they're not talking to you about life insurance, if they're not talking to you about ketubas, or if they're not talking to you about wills, stop. Don't mess with them. If they're not talking to you about elders, stop. Don't mess with them. If they're trying to move on their own, stop. Don't mess with them. Now, some might disagree with me, and there are exceptions to the rule. but don't risk exceptions to the rule. So you asked about sex as marriage. To me, it's not. Too many women being hurt in 2021 from it. That's my answer. Eldership, go through a process. After the courtship, it's going to be a ketubah in place and or marriage through United States. Then it's going to be, okay, let's get life insurance. Let's get wills in place. So that way, for that question you asked, because a lot of women are getting messed up because of sex as marriage doctrine, that way you will make sure that you're not going to, fall victim to anything. That's my answer. I don't even know if I answered your question, but I tried to cover as much as I could.
King. I had always wondered about that because, I come from a background where we go by the doctrine sex is marriage. And I'm like, well, if sex is marriage, why am I required a bit of divorce when it's time, if my husband deem, like if he wants to divorce me. So I can come in a relationship without a ketubah or without a bill, but I had to leave with one. So yeah, so I'm still struggling. I'm still struggling with that doctrine to this day. Not to get too personal, but yes, I still struggle with that.
Let me jump in because I don't want to mess up or come in between any type of homes of people that might be listening. I'm not your husbands or anything of that nature, but I want to ask a simple question. A couple of them. Was Lot's daughters, or Lot is actually his name in Hebrew, was his daughters married to him when they did what they did? That's one. You got Judah and Tamar. Was they married after that stuff took place? It's so many examples to show. Okay, now I do understand what they mean when they say sex is marriage. I do understand what they mean when sex is marriage, but the one thing that Chief said out of everything, if you didn't hear everything that he said, the number one thing that I really hope that people take in, accountability. If sex is marriage, but there's no accountability to it at all, that's when it's a problem. I don't really knock brothers and sisters that say sex is marriage if they are operating with some type of Hebraic, I got this from Chief Zebulon, decorum. And I yield, and I'm gonna pass the mic.
Okay, where do we start on this? Let me give some background on that, on the doctrine of sex is marriage. And before I give that, there's something that I think that as Israelites, we have a tendency to either just not understand and we overlook it, or we are deliberately avoiding it. And that is that when we open up the book, when we open up the Tanakh, and this can even apply for those who follow the New Testament, when you open up the book, whatever the book that you follow, we got to remember that this book was not compiled in one sitting. This was a process over a few thousand years, and culture and cultural practices modify over time. Sometimes it's hit and miss. Sometimes it's like, okay, we're gonna try this, and if this works, cool. If it doesn't work, we'll get rid of it. There's a process in cultural development, especially with marriage. I'll give you a quick example of that is the practice of women being modest. Now we say, yeah, well, Hebrew women, they're supposed to be modest. And in ancient times, modesty meant that women, generally speaking, especially the righteous ones, they covered their face.
They covered
their face with a now, and no doubt that's cool. That absolutely. But we also understand that in other, in corresponding cultures and in different time periods, and we saw it happen with, go figure, we mentioned Judah and Tamar, how did Judah, one of the ways that he discovered that, oh, this is potentially a whore, it was what? She had her face covered. So on one hand, in the culture, covering your face meant modesty. It meant that you was a righteous woman or whatever the case. But in this situation, apparently wearing a veil meant, oh, this was a sign of a whore. Now, and I've seen people wrestle with that. They're like, oh, well, something doesn't, like, no, because you got to understand that times and circumstances change. They, you know what I'm saying? They modify, they evolve. Some things some things are phased out because they may have sounded good in theory, but it did not work out practically. So we see these things play out all throughout the scripture. This is the reason why when you go to certain portions of Genesis, you're not going to see the same outlook that you might get when you go to the book of Ezra, because you're talking about 2,000 years of development of culture. Culture doesn't stand still. Any culture that stands still dies. So there's going to be differences in how, because that's how evolution of culture happens. Culture is a living process. So now let's go to the situation with marriage. When people say that sex is what makes marriage, I tell people that, well, you got to be careful with that, because there's a truth to that. But the way that it's worded will lead you down a very bad road. Now, I give the example of Yom HaKippurim, the Day of Atonement. And I say, well, on the Day of Atonement, I ask a person, what is the Day of Atonement? People say, oh, it's a day of fasting. No, it's not. Is fasting a part of it? Yeah.
Chief, you doing too much, Chief. You're doing too much, Chief. You're doing too much.
Because fasting is the introductory phase of the redemptive process. The day is about redemption, but but fasting is what preps you to get you to the point of that redemption. It's the same thing with sex and marriage. You can't marry this woman unless, think about it, there's a law that says that you sleep with this woman, you got the token of her virginity. No token, that marriage ain't going down. So we know that, yes, sex it consummates the union, but that's the introductory phase. There's other things that have to also take place. The tokens, the dowry, all of these things have to happen. The ceremony in the community, because the community have to know that this went down, because this sister is now off the market. So
say that again right there, Chief. Say that again right there. Community got to see that, man.
Right. The community has to see it. Because she's now off the market. Because otherwise, if she doesn't, if no one else knows that this sister has been taken, you get brothers that push up and be like, yo, what's good? Whatever the case may be, they're out of pocket, but they don't even realize they're out of pocket because these things were not brought to the community, going back to accountability.
Or the man could just be like, I'm done with you, because nobody knew.
Right.
And they can leave. Right.
And so that's what I'm saying, is that marriage, the process of Hebraic marriage was an evolutionary process. So like when we talk about the ketubah, now, yes, absolutely, the ketubahs, no question. But the ketubah, we got to remember, the ketubah is a Pharisaic innovation. The ketubahs did not come into existence until after the Babylonian captivity. This is the reason why you can't find the ketubah in the Torah.
Can you say what you just said again? I'm bringing Akko Sharon back in. Can you say what you just said so she heard what you said too?
Oh, you mean as far as the ketubah?
Ketubah, right, yeah.
Okay.
So everybody know what everybody's saying.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the ketubah, so like with the issue with the ketubah, and just talking about how the evolution of the marriage process in Hebraic culture is, the ketubah is absolutely, from the standpoint of where we at today, yes, the ketubah absolutely should have one. Cool, no question. But the ketubah was a Pharisaic innovation. it was something that was developed after the Babylonian captivity, even maybe after during the time of the Greek rulership of the known world. This is not, the ketubah cannot be found in the Torah. There's and you cannot, you ask a person, show me the ketubah in the Torah. You can't, it's not there. Now, there's inferences to suggest that the ketubah could have been there, because like the sister said, if you have a bill of, if there's a Torah law that talks about a bill of divorce, then there would have to be, you would think, well, there should be a bill of marriage. But again, we got to remember, these are developments. Take the situation with Yitzchak and Rivka, Isaac and Rebecca. Was there a ketubah present for their marriage? No. He took her into his mother's tent and laid with her, and she became his wife. Sex is marriage, but that was a long time ago. We're talking about in the patriarchal era. And that's why I say we have to be careful with history, is that we got to understand that there were things that were done in the time of the patriarchs, sometimes out of necessity, but our ancestors who came afterwards, when they look back at the way, the things that our ancestors did culturally, they were like, that might have worked then, but no, we can't do that anymore. We're not going to, like, you don't see men giving their daughters up just, to a man and say, here, you can rape my daughters, just don't touch these men. Like, that wouldn't even work in the days of Ezra. You'd be like, what? Give up your daughter to who? No.
Right.
So
hey,
again,
Chief, can I throw something in there? It's two things before you continue.
Yes, sir.
I love how you are showing the differences within the different times and things like that. And I think that it's amazing how you bring it out 2021. And when you look at back then, you gave an example earlier too about community setting.
Right.
You brought out who you just said, Isaac, right? And Rebecca.
Yes, sir.
They was familiar. You brought this out earlier. They was familiar. They grew up around the families and stuff. So it was definitely different. And this time we can't do it like that because you don't have communities like that. So I just wanted to throw that for the listeners out there to understand what you're bringing out as well, just in case, I'm sure you explained very well, but I wanted to bring that out as well to understand that why you're bringing this out, to those that might be listening. They got to understand. And also, I'm about to go to Shemot 22 and 17.
Right.
Maury Athan, that's his wife is Ahuba, but he's on her account. So I'm going to go to it. He said concerning sex being married. So I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to go to that verse to see what it's talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is what I'm saying. So when people say, and I'm talking about on both sides of the aisle, you have the one side that says, hey, sex is marriage. It's like, well, yes, and no. Meaning, is sex a part of, is sexual intercourse, is it a part of the marital process? Absolutely. Without that part, there's no covenant has been struck. There's no token of virginity to be, to be brought forth. You can't, you see what I'm saying? So yes, in that respect. But the only way sex can be marriage is if you're saying that sex is a part of the marital process. Now, to say that it is marriage and that's it, well, maybe, but that has proven over time in history that it's a flawed concept.
Chief, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is going to let it be known real quick. Exodus or Shemot, chapter 22. I'm glad he brought this out because I was thinking it, but here it goes. It's 16 in Safaria for some reason, but I guess it might be 17 in King James Version. So Exodus, I'm waiting on everybody to go to it. Exodus. You already know what and I want to know your thoughts on this when I read it too.
Yeah.
Exodus 22 and 17 says, if her father, well, I'm not reading KJV, I'm reading something else. If her father refuses to give her to him, he must still weigh out silver in accordance with the bride price for virgins. So I'm assuming, because he's not here, but I do know my brother, if sex was marriage, then this man would have been married to this father's daughter, who the father refused of them being married, so they're not married. But Chief, what's your thoughts on it? I didn't give my thoughts. I just want to see what your thoughts on the chapter he brought out after you're done doing what speaking on what you're speaking on.
Okay, yeah, and it's good that he brought up, because when I mentioned the whole sex is marriage law, this is the primary script that is that's used. Now, with that said, there was a time, so in me explaining this, understand that there was a time that I also believed this. So I'm not, so people who do, I'm not saying like, you guys is off, like, no, because there was a time when I thought it, and in fact, I even used it to my benefit in my younger years. And we, you already know about, my teenage years. So first of all, this text, the text only makes sense if we're using the KJV and we're only using this verse by itself. Then a person can say, yeah, see, if a man entices a maid who's not betrothed, she's not involved with nobody, and lay with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Now, that makes sense from a KJV standpoint, absolutely. The problem is that this text is not talking about a man who is interested in a woman and goes and said, hey, I'm interested in you, whatever like that. And this particular law is not talking about a righteous union.
Oh, wait. The verse that I use, not the one above. The one above is the one that you're speaking of, if I'm not mistaken. But the one below that one says, if a father refuses to give her to him,
right?
That's the one he's speaking of, if I'm not mistaken. If a father
refuses
to give her,
right,
okay.
And that, because that's the, of course, that's the second part that normally you don't see people go to.
Right. Okay.
Right. Cool. That's the part that but the first part, first of all, Exodus 22:16, this is not a script to use if you're trying to show righteous marriage. First of all, what does the text say? Ki yepate.
Okay, go ahead.
Ki yepate ish betula, ashura lo arasa. The first thing it says what? Yipta. Yepate. What does yepate mean? That is yepate ish. If a man deceives, they're saying entice, but yipate, that root always means to deceive, to fool. It's a word that's used for trickery all throughout the Tanakh. So this is not talking about a righteous man coming to a woman and saying, hey, sis, I'm feeling you. I know you feeling me. Hey, let's get together. This is talking about a man who is, the text is suggesting a man who is using questionable tactics. That if a man tricks a woman, if a man deceives her, there's some type of deception employed in the term. The root, of course, of the word is betroth. Betroth implies trickery, to fool someone, to deceive, to confuse someone. This is someone who is using questionable motives, the questionable tactics to get this woman, and then lies with her. It says he shall surely endow her. So he still has to now take responsibility for her. But what does the very next verse suggest? If her father utterly refuse, why would a father utterly refuse to give his daughter away to a good man? Because this is not talking about a righteous man. This is talking about a man who used trickery to get in his daughter's pudenda. That's why it says, if her father utterly refuses to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. So he still has to pay up. Even if there's no marriage, but you still have to pay as if the marriage went down. So when people use that text, you're like, well, I guess in the English it could make sense. It could be sex is marriage, but number one, it's not talking about a righteous situation, and the second verse suggests that what? That the father, why would the father utterly refuse? That means that something transpired that was off. That means that man, he did not go to the father, he went straight to the woman. So he's out of order right there. Right there, the father's like, yo, dude, you just went against the, you know what I'm saying, went against the culture. You bypassed me and went straight to my daughter. And it says that and that's why the word yapate is so important, because there was trickery involved. There was deception involved. So this is not just brother and sister getting together and we're, hey, you know, I like you, you like me. Hey, let's move forward. Let's do a little something. You know what I'm saying? This is a text that is talking about trickery.
Most definitely. Better, Captain, go ahead. What you got?
Wow, Chief, you went in. You really, 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 really went in. So I have 3 points that I would like to make. And again, it's just points. I agree wholeheartedly with Chief in his perspective of how things should be approached in regards to the father as well as the family. But there's the first thing that I want to point out is that the word marriage, I look at that more so as Americanized today, and them giving us a script to follow that says when you follow this is what deems you married according to their court of law. I feel that my second point, and it's also religious for the most part of Americans' way of looking at it. This is the religious way of doing it. This is how you're supposed to have this ceremony. I agree this is a rabbit hole, but the point that I want to make out how we can avoid making it a rabbit hole is, again, the way that America displays the ceremony and everything else today is more of a religious perspective. I think the way that we as Israelites can rise above that is going back to what Moray was saying earlier today in regards to contractual agreements among our families. And even Chief was saying insurance policies. That keeps you from falling under America's legal way of marriage. And I think, because let's just admit it, we're not going to be able to follow suit the way that we read the Torah and a lot of the things that have been instructed to us where we are right now. But I look at as a workaround is, again, as long as I'm of sound mind and body, I can create a will. I can sign off on it. I can have someone notify, someone notify it, determine it legal, follow it with the courts. To me, in this given time, the way we are living, that is the best policy, and that's the best way to work around the Americanized way of saying that we need to have a certain ceremony under their understanding. Because if I die today or tomorrow, even if I don't have a marriage certificate on file, if I have a will, a sound mind, body, and will testament on file that has been notarized and has been filed with the courts, that takes me around that loophole all day, every day.
Right.
In conjunction with your family having health insurance policies to be able to help bury you in the shape, format, or, of your desire. And to touch note on, the sexual engagement, I'm glad that we did touch on that, because I do feel that, again, when we're talking about where we are living right now, even if you want to take that one aspect out of what seals a marriage, I think where we are today, there are other steps that we need to take legal-wise to protect ourselves and our loved ones in the event of our death. But I definitely do believe that there is a workaround. And regardless if we don't want to fall prey to their standards or their rituals, there are still ways that we have standards that we have to take, because we're not in our land, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. That's just a given at the end of the day, period. And again, I think I want to just say that I believe marriage, from my perspective, from America way, is their legal way of looking at it. And that's their religious way of looking at it. And we definitely have a workaround that we don't have to format ourselves to going to a Justice Hall of Peace or even having a major ceremony, that we have the elders present, the witnesses that we want present. And we write up these documents and we make them legal and we file them with their people that they say is where we need to file them at, courthouse or whatever, and move beyond that. And I think that to a certain degree should still give us a certain level of peace, that we're not actually formatting to everything that you're telling us, especially, and again, that's my belief from a religious perspective, that I have to have this ceremony.
Right.
Whether it's with a justice of peace or whereby or whatever the case may be. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree with me and my mate making legal documentations that leave no question for anyone to question after either one of us are gone. And again, you do that with a sound state of mind, and you get it notarized and you file it. And I think that's how we rise above these statistics of what people are telling us what we need to do today to make marriage legal. And that's just my opinion on it.
You know what? I want to jump in real quick, and I want to say this. For those that know me, I like to get on everyone's level, right? Some of the things we're saying right now is all truth. Sometimes people might look at it and be like, man, I don't know what the heck y'all talking about. Okay, let's remove what we're talking about out the picture. Let's put in place something that you might know. Rich people. I'm going to pause for a minute and I'm going to come back in. Rich people, they know the system.
Right.
They know the system better than us common folks. And the system is made and it's put in place for a reason, so they can manipulate the system with the system, which is still lawful. And the crazy thing about it is, it's not wrong. So what Gilbert Kathy brought out, and what I said earlier as well, insurance will. Oh, that's not good. Yes, it is. This is in place for a reason. It works. It's part of their system. And guess what? You're still a law-abiding citizen. Oh, no, you're in a cult. Oh, no, that's that Israelite. Like this person just said. He said, is this a black Hebrew Israelite stream? You know what I said? No, this is in a quotations, black Hebrew Israelite stream. I'm not going to go into that. But, to the states, to the United States, trust me, I'm going to be abiding by the laws of the land, because guess what? I'm going to use their system against them, and they're going to honor it because it's in their system. It's in their law. You know, without law, there is no sin. So if I'm abiding by their law, then I am not sinning. Oh, shoot. Shut up, Shema. And with that, I yield. So I'm going to pass the mic. If anybody have anything else to say, we have covered all the questions of tonight. Man, this is ridiculous in a good way. This show, this segment, what we doing right now, this is amazing.
I had just one comment.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It may lead down to other rabbit holes. But
you know we love rabbit holes. You know we love rabbit holes.
In the case that a woman is married to a man that I'm on a call for a minute. In the case that a woman is married to a man that believes the sexist marriage doctrine, right? And he doesn't have no will, he doesn't have no life insurance, and let's say he died today or tomorrow. The reason why I say yay or nay prior to the topic is because let's not forget that America identify the common law. They identify with those who has been married for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And that's called the common law. Meaning if you're married for a certain individual more than 10 years or maybe more than 15 years, you are eligible and you are obligated on financial compensation.
Okay. So
I just wanted to put that out there. And, you know, just another reason why I say yay and nay towards this topic. Selah, Tamshi, I yield.
And this, wait. She said something powerful. That's why I love this platform. The whole 10 years that she brought out. A lot of times the examples we see on the fishbowl that Chief Zebulon brings out, they put out articles and stuff on the women that goes through, or men, but I'll use women for now, to where they was like left in some type of, you know, situation. First of all, they didn't do a will, or they didn't do insurance, but a lot of times those women be under 10 years too. I just wanted to throw that out to do, because the point that you brought out, that 10 years, that's real. If you've been in over 10 years, that state is, well, depending on the states.
Brother, I'm sorry to interject. That's really what I wanted to say, because it definitely depends on state by state. You know what I mean? Because some states don't even consider or honor what we call common law marriage. You know what I mean? They don't. And again, back to Sister Sharon earlier, when we try to fall upon the understanding of individual states and their laws, again, I just feel that we're setting ourselves up for failure. The way we can maneuver around that, again, as Moray and Sharon was saying, having these insurance policies in place, making sure your beneficiaries, not just insurance policy is in place, but make sure you have clarity on who this beneficiary is supposed to be. Because unfortunately, with a lot of our families, that's when the ghost comes out. Everybody wants to have loved Aunt Beverly, and, you know, I did this and I should be able to do this. So there needs to be clarity, instructions on what is expected of this deceased individual.
Right.
The other thing is that's just insurance covering, again, what we got to pay to be buried in the ground or cremated. Let's talk about the court of law in America. They want us under a religious perspective to be married, to take certain oaths, to say that you did this, and to present a marriage license. The way I feel around for Israelites is, again, us getting a notarized letter while we are in our sound mind and body, getting that notarized, presenting that on file in the courthouse of the state in which you live, also providing whomever family members that you think gonna be caring in the midst of your passing, and even the people that are not gonna be caring, that are left to lead your legal wishes. That information needs to be provided to them. In my opinion, that cuts down a lot of internal family going back and forth, because Susan can sit up here, Becky can sit up here and say, I'm mad at you. No, this is what she told me. Okay, well, guess what? This documented dated right here, less than 30 days from when she passed. And I also, let me interject, revising it. Because if you got something on file with the courthouse and with your family that's a year old and relationships have deteriorated and you not still in the same type of communication with these people, you need to revise it. Because the people that you left on a year prior and you're no longer in that same mode, they're going to take advantage of that. So it's a lot to this, and it speaks value to me because I'm the family member that had to deal with that. And I just think it's very unfair when we can do things as simple as getting things notarized and filed. Being notarized, getting notarization, last I checked, was anywhere from $8 to $12. Filing something, $25 to $35 versus a $6,000 to $8,000 memorial service, or however you choose to bury your family member.
Hold on, Gilberto Kathy. Shameless plug right there. Look what Chief doing, Gilberto.
Thank you. Yes. Notary Public. Yes. Thank you.
Right.
Is that a shameless plug right there?
Oh no. It was just to say that, no, to her point, that this is, I mean, anything that I sign and stamp is legally binding. So therefore, to her point, it's like, well, if that's true, then again, why would there be a need to go through the whole city hall, thing? If it's about security, securing a wife.
Because it's about the constant loopholes that they send us through, whether we are alive or whether we are deceased. You already know that even if a law is directly written out for people, which is supposed to be, for whatever reason, there is a loophole that is found for a certain culture or ethnicity of people. So you've got to seal that deal with their own game. They created this law. This is what they said this is what they said we take. This is what they said is respectable. So give it to them. You don't have to give it to them on the level of the like the ceremonies and things like that. Like I said, that to me, that's more on a religious thing. But if you want to get me and tell me this is what I got to do to make sure you, as the law in the state, in the city that I'm residing in, is going to respect my dying wishes, then this is how I'm going to come at you. This is your own law. So yes, I have the right to get married under your American way, which I choose not to. Then I have the right to write up my own contingents of how my life is going to end and have someone sign off and file it with your legal department in your place. And at the end of the day, you have to respect it. That's
Bingo.
it.
Drop the mic.
In the immortal words of ISUPK, that's right.
That's right. All right, so we came to the end. We answered all these beautiful questions, man. I love what we're doing. All praises to the Most High, for real, because you all are bringing some excellent questions, and I believe these questions will help in the dialogue that we're having. Are we saying that what we are saying is the absolute facts? We're not saying that. We are presenting things that is evident, but you got to live your life and do what you need to do. If you are just tuning in, make sure that you subscribe. And if you have been tuning in, make sure that you subscribe, like, share. This is YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscience, it's not acceptable. We will be every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Is there anything else that any one of the panelists has to say? And we're going to close out.
Real quick, Sister Gabera Kathy, she posed a question. I don't know if it was on video or through the chat about halakha. Did you want me to respond here, or do you want to wait till the broadcast ends and we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and respond now. Halakha, yeah, okay. The listeners might want to know too. Halakha.
Okay, that more rabbit holes with this, but basically halakha is it is the it's the process of what they refer to as oral law or oral tradition. Basically, in our terminology of here today, it is basically the breakdown of scripture. Like we pull up a scripture and we'll say, oh yeah, this historically relates to this, and we give explanations as to how what this means and how it applies in this situation or how it applies in that situation. That's really all halakha is. It's explanations of law that is pretty much black and white. Like, for instance, we talk about the Shabbat. It says that on the Shabbat, you should do no manner of work. Now, that should be clear, right? That's a clear, okay, yeah, don't do any work. But then, of course, because you always have those of our people who love to find loopholes in the Torah, to be like, our elders were like, well, wait a minute. Well, we have to now define, what does it mean to not do work? And so it'll be like, well, yeah, you shouldn't carry any labor, any burdens. You can't be, doing that. It's like, well, okay, well, wait a minute. But what if I'm on my way to the camp or the congregation and I'm carrying a bag full of books? Am I not physically exerting myself? And if that's the case, would that be breaking the Shabbat? Am I breaking the Shabbat by carrying my books to the camp so that we could do services? And it's questions like that the elders would sit down and say, okay, well, let's be clear as to what is work, what is labor, and all of these different things. This is really all halakha is. Now, of course, there's some halakha or halakha that has come from sources that were not Israelite sources that we don't subscribe to, because that's not our business. That's the Khazars.
Example? Can I give an example?
Yes, sir.
Circumcision. Some of the Jewish people.
So where does Yiddish fall under this? And the reason why I'm asking, because again, I like to inquire about these questions prior.
I'm bringing an example right now for you, sis. I got an example right now for you. So okay. Yiddish is language, though, by the way, but we're not going. I'll go on that later with you. But the example I was using right now is, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, and let me know if I'm answering her question, because I knew exactly what she was asking. The circumcision, when a baby is born, the circumcision. What does some of the, I'm not gonna say all of them, but some of the Israelis do? Are you familiar with that, Gebera Kathy? What they do with circumcision with a child? You're on mute, by the way. You're on mute.
Forgive me for our listeners that are out there, because I'm answering honestly. Is it kissing the foreskin?
You're basically right. Some similar to that.
Let's go further with that. Let's call it what it is, Aki. You know what it is. There's a term in Hebrew, a lot of people called gid yonek. I can assure you they're not.
Can you spell that?
I guess like in English it would be like GIYD. Second word YONACH.
Now, mind you, he's transliterating it for you. Right. Some people spell their transliterations different, right? Just want to throw that out there. But that's, go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, it's basically, I can assure you that the term yonek in Hebrew does not mean kiss. It's and I want to be.
Just say
I don't
it,
want to
Chief.
be.
Just say it, Chief. Go ahead. Go ahead, Chief.
The word yonik means to suck.
Yes. And that's what they do. That is
Yeah.
a form of, and correct me, Chief, if I'm wrong, because halakha, that's a form of their halakha when it comes to circumcision.
Right.
We don't do that.
At all.
At all. So,
For real.
So
well, I actually got that information from a fluid Jewish man that I worked with, and he had his son, and he was freaked out by it. Like, he came back to work, and what was funny is how he joked about it, like, this dude did such and such and such, and then put it in his pocket. Like, he was like, I was really weirded out by that portion of it. But again, this is someone that was brought up in the culture. But again, even if we brought up in the culture, how many times do you see your firstborn or your children being circumcised, you know what I mean, by a rabbi or whatever? So
if I was to make this in plain terms for those that don't know nothing about Hebrew community, that those that don't know about Hebrew or Bible or whatever, let me make it very clear and plain. Chief, correct me if I'm wrong. I Coach Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong. But halakha is simply, if I was to take all of this out of it, it's just a way of how a group of people operate within whatever they believe. Okay? So you have the people that you're speaking of, they have a certain belief as to what they extracted from something that was before them. Are they right? I'm going to say no, but I'm not, that's their belief as far as that. So it's their way, it's their walk, it's how they move. So that's what halakha basically is, from my understanding. And go ahead, Chief.
No, that's pretty much that's really all it is. It's nothing more than some people say interpretation. That's a good way of looking at it as well. You're taking a text and saying, okay, the text says this, but now how do we apply it in real time? Because again, there's a lot of laws that it says what it says, but it's like, well, okay, well, but how do I put this in motion? How do I live it? Halakha is what gives birth to culture.
And that's Chief. That's why I want to say too, real quick, Chief. And that's why I want to say is nothing wrong with that term. It's nothing wrong with that term, Gabetta Kathy.
Right.
Go ahead, Chief. I want to say it's nothing wrong with the term, but it doesn't mean what he's spewing, what he's saying is right. Halakha just means. Go ahead, Chief. You already know what I'm gonna say, so go ahead and let her know.
No, say it. No, shoot it.
It's halakha is just a way extracting from something before you how you see it. So this is how we halakha or halakha, or however a chief says it. Right. That's how we do it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But that doesn't mean what we're doing is right. But it's still the way in what we interpreted something that we're going off of.
Like in the camp that I came up in, when going back to the issue of the Shabbat, it was the halakha that you did not watch TV on the Shabbat. Period. Why? And the reasoning for that is, well, because there's absolutely nothing on that television that is going to lead you to serving and worshiping the Almighty Yah. Therefore, it would be breaking the Shabbat to watch TV. This is the understanding that we were given. Now, of course, there's some people that's like, but that was the culture of the camp that I came out of, and that was the fence that was being built around the Torah for us. Why? Because if you turn on the TV, it doesn't matter what channel you go to, maybe with the exception of Animal Planet, maybe, but any other channel that you turn on, what are you going to see? You're going to see foolery, whoremongering, whoredom, idolatry, adultery, and every other tree that you can think about. You're going to see all of these, and none of these things lead you to rightfully serving the Most High in spirit and truth. It just doesn't. So our elders were like, Like, no, like on the Shabbat, no, you don't watch TV. And that was our tradition. Now, of course, some other people may look at that and be like, well, I don't know, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Okay, well, that's your halakha. You know what I'm saying? This is your way, like the brother, like Maury Shema said, this is your way, or this is your interpretation of how you take the law and apply it in real time. So, like he said, the concept of halakha is absolutely great, because think about it. Proverbs is a perfect example of halakha. The book of Proverbs, because nothing in the book of Proverbs is law. None of it is Torah in the sense of law or commandments. But what is it? It is right. It is teachings that help us understand how to apply law. That's what Psalms is. Psalms is another form of halakha. It's halakha with music attached to it. And that's half the scriptures is nothing more than that. Helping us to explain, helping to explain the Torah and how to apply it in real life. So there's like the brother Maury Shema said, nothing wrong with halakha, but you have to be careful with the source that the halakha is coming from, because some people, they interpret things and you be like, yo, I don't know where they got that from. That ain't nowhere in any text. I ain't seen it nowhere, whatever like that. I don't know where that came from. But a lot of what our ancestors wrote in the later years after the time of Moshe, a lot of it is pure wisdom. Proverbs is pure wisdom. Ecclesiastes, wisdom. Sirach, wisdom. All of these words, wisdom. And we use these things to help us understand Torah. But then there's some other stuff you be reading, and you like, okay, this is of the devil. I'm out of here. So yeah. So I hope we were able to kind of clarify that term for you. And you are on mute.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. You did. I'm like Maury. I'm definitely enjoying this. Being enlightened by the moment, by all three of you guys. Seriously. I was trying to see if there was any other questions.
Again, I want to say to your Ish, we appreciate him agreeing and allowing you to bless our platform. You know what I'm saying, and also being a part of the platform. If he's over there in the corner, I feel like I see the hair somewhere, but I can't see the hair.
Well, he did ask me to be a part of this. I told him that we was gonna have to do a side note. I had to speak with my sister Sharon first, but we mentioned this about 3 weeks ago. Again, he's on my left-hand side every time we are live. And he was just like, I would love to just be a guest.
Sweet.
So I would like if we can consider that. But I really do give a lot of thanks to my husband Sharon and her husband Rayah, because they have been my they've been my sounding board. They've been there, honestly, for me in this growth process. Like I said, I came from Christianity, and my husband, we set up many a nights, and he was just like, when you go to sleep, because I was just like question after question. He would say this, and I'm like, well, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? And I am just ecstatic, and I love where I am right now, and I love the people that I have in my corner. Because the more and more I meditate, the more and more I understand. And that's what allowed me to present those questions. You know what I mean? Those were just personal questions. And like I said, I'm walking away with a warm, fuzzy feeling, because everything based upon what we talked about, what Chief expressed, what you expressed, and what Sharon expressed, my husband followed too. So I'm good.
Amazing. And I will say this, and I'm not going to speak too quickly, because I can't speak for everybody, but I would love to, and we're going to close out after this, because, now we're going into, the back office. Everybody can't know what we talk about back office, but I would love for us to speak on it, because, man, you're doing an amazing job on this platform. I just want to tell you that. Our coach Sharon, amazing. Chief Zeb, amazing. I'm loving this. And then the fact that your husband, your ish, for those that don't know what that means in Hebrew, that's husband. Ish.
Yeah.
It's literally right there. You know what I'm saying? Like for those that not used to something like that, they're like, wait, why is he there? No, that's amazing. He's supportive of her, his Isha, to the point that he's right there. This is why this is amazing. This platform is amazing to me. If it's not YAH Conscience Radio, it's not acceptable, because you have an example of a woman that's bringing forth these questions. You have an example of her of the Ish right there. I got you, baby. So it's like, you know what? Yes, I would love to have him come on and just speak his piece and to bring forth some information, some knowledge. You know, we're gonna bring some guests in, and I would love, why not have one other than the people that's on this platform, the husbands or the wives to the panel that's on the platform. And
but
we
you
don't
also,
know where to go from there.
Also have to keep in mind, I am the babe. I am his babe, and the reason why I want him there and I respect him there is because, again, I'm under his guidance, under Sharon, and again her husband Rayah's supportive guidance. So there is a need for him to be there for me, because I don't want to speak out of turn, because again, we have a platform and we're talking to people, whether they're tuned in now or they may tune in later. But what he always encourages me, he's like, well, this is my thought in regards to the Torah and how it can, it measures up with you and I and our relationship. But he was like, your opinion at the end of the day is what matters. And how you can see where you are in these questions and these life instances. So there's no way, shape, or form that he's giving me his opinion. Again, we have that sort of dialogue. We talk. Babe, this is my questions. So these were the questions that were presented. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
And the same thing with Sharon. We do the same thing as well. And again, a lot of it is because I am new in it. And I don't meet my brother Rayah, if he's listening, he got on me about saying I'm new and you don't know. But sometimes you just have to admit your position in things, and you have to reach towards people such as yourself, as Moray and Chief and Sharon, and again, her husband and my husband. I would never ever raise my hand and say that I have it all, or I know it all. And that's what I love about the platform and the people that I deal with. And I hope that people are listening, or even in the future that gravitate, will feel comfortable, because again, there's a whole different variety of people that were raised up in the word, and you and I, Moray, that we're new to it. You got Chief, that's a pro, along with Sharon. I just think the platform allows a lot of different a lot of different diversities in life. And I know that it will welcome a lot of people in life. And I'm going to keep it real from my perspective as I continue to grow. And I think that's what's going to help, because I'm innocent as a babe when I present my questions. I really and truly am. My husband told me, don't try to suit up to something you're not ready for. Suit up with what you know, and present those questions based upon your understanding, and you'll get a better answer on your understanding. So that's where I am. And I look forward to me growing, because I know my questions, my comments will continue to grow. But I definitely do appreciate this platform and my sister and my brothers on the platform and outside of the platform. I love y'all, seriously.
Hallelujah. And I want to say something. I'm going to let Akko Sharon and Chief Zebulon close out after I say this. And I would love if your Ish is okay with it to come in and just introduce himself too. But I want to say this real quick. I think it's amazing, and I love the fact that you brought forth your questions. And the beautiful thing about your testimony, and we're bringing this testimony and stuff out, we're very pure and sincere in what we're trying to do for the people. I think the amazing thing with you is, I've been in it for 10 years. I coach Sharon been in it her whole life. Chief Zeb been in it for 30 plus. You know what I'm saying? you're going to relate, in my opinion. This is mine. I'm not saying, I don't know what they're going to say or what they think. You're going to relate to more people than us, in my opinion. And the fact that you're going to relate to more people, in my opinion, and the way that you're displaying and demonstrating is amazing. Again, your ish is right there. The way that you operating is amazing. And then giving honor to, Akho Sharon and her ish. Forgive me, I don't know your ish name. That's a shame on me. But it's amazing. It's showing that's Hebraic decorum, and it's just in you. It's in you. This is what this platform is not about, just talking. It's not just about coming up with questions and just talking. Oh, we're gonna talk about this. It's about demonstration and displaying. And you are the perfect example, in my opinion. I don't know you like Akho Sharon knows you. I'm learning about you in this, and I'm loving what I'm learning. But that's amazing. And your Ish, your husband, I believe is amazing on that too. I'm gonna let Akho Sharon speak if she wants to close out or speak on what we're talking about, Chief Zebulon. And then if you would, I'm cool with your husband coming in and speaking a couple words, and then we're gonna close out. So Chief or Akho Sharon, one of you all. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if she's yeah. No, I think I think this was a excellent excellent build. Covered a lot of ground, and there was so much more ground that we could have covered. But again, how many hours can we do this? But all I can say, man, is all praise to the Most High, because the fact that here we are in the land of, well, so for some people, the land of captivity, and for others, in the land of exile. We shouldn't even be having these type of conversations. We should be doing what the rest of the people in this country are doing, just passing time, just doing. For the fact that we're having these type of discussions, the fact that we're, trying to get, trying to get to the bottom of what constitutes marriage, what is the purpose of marriage, all of these things, all of the cultural elements of it, that here it is, we're having these conversations in exile, is a blessing. So the Most High goes the glory.
Hallelujah. Akho Sharon, do you have anything before we pass the mic to Gebetter Kathy's Ish? In 3, 2. All right, Gebetter Kathy Ish, let you go ahead and speak, man. We appreciate you.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Always listen to you guys, converse. So, I enjoy, and, it's an opportunity for a lot of folks to acquire some understanding, and, for all of us to share. So it's very important. And regardless of what level of understanding, you may believe that you have, a lot of us have a lot to share, so Torah for, an opportunity to speak with you guys. And I look forward to an opportunity in the future to sit down and maybe going over some of these questions you presented. But I still think we need to do a part 2 to this one.
We could.
Like I heard, it's way too much going on with that, with these questions. So it's a whole lot more that can be achieved. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So.
Look, we're gonna have you on a part 2 there, man. If that's okay. We're gonna have you on part 2. All praises. We appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Torah.
Thank you, baby.
We're gonna let Akho Sharon close us out. I think I had her muted. Forgive me, Akho. I'm gonna unmute you if you can. I don't know what's going on. I see. Wait, let me see. Oh, I gotta add her. Wait, hello. You got two of them. Are you there? Is she there? Oh, goodness gracious.
Hello?
There she go. There you go. There you
Okay.
go.
I'm on here twice. I don't know how that's possible.
I don't know how. Yeah, I see. I'm about to remove the other one. Hold on. There we go.
Kane, I just wanted to pinpoint the topics of discussion at hand. It was very, very informative. Very very refreshing, may I say.
Man.
And even though I was born into Torah and it's something that I've been in my whole life, I still don't have it. I still don't know it all. It's still a lot of things that I'm still learning. It's still a lot of things that I've missed as far as like reading the Torah and implementing the Torah in my personal life. So no matter how long I've been into it, I'm still an adolescent in it as well. But I do agree these topics do require a part two. Very, 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 very good, Kathy. Very good topics.
She did some great. Yeah, I agree.
we was over here, we was on here 2 hours and 45 minutes, almost 3 hours now. That's how good that's how good the topics, and not only that it's good, but it was very beneficial. Very beneficial, very needed, a discussion that's not being talked about in our communities, enough. So with that, I yield. I am so eager for next week. Very excited to see, what next week will bring. And I just enjoy being on the call. The more and more we be on the call together, the more I see that we are comfortable with each other. Yeah. The more knowledge and wisdom that we gain from each episode, from each show. And I just want to give all praises to the Most High for allowing us to be here on this call today, allowing us to share wisdom and share knowledge and, be transparent and authentic with each other.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. With that being said, before I say what I'm going to say, Gebera Kathy, can you tell everybody here one more time, what is your Ish name?
Melakishwa.
I like that. Melakishwa. Okay. Everybody remember that, because he coming back on part 2. All 4 of us think that this needs to be a part 2.
It definitely needs to be a part 2. Right. I just want to say again, to you and Chief, and especially my sister Sharon, and again her husband, I owe great gratitude in my continuing growth. I'm excited about this way of life. I love it. I have never, ever been so happy, even when I get down. Honestly, just knowing the direction to go in regards to prayer or my mentality or the spirit that I'm supposed to have. And I'm like my sister Sharon. I'm very excited. The week can be very draining. And you wake up on Thursday, and for me, like you, Moray, I put in, I categorize what I got to do. And I'm like, oh, it is. Oh, gosh, you got to be ready. But, you put aside what you spiritually, what you're going through spiritually or mentally, and you get in, and it's so refreshing to talk to intelligent and loving people. So again, like my sister, I thank y'all. I really do, for the opportunity, and I look forward to many more.
Yeah. Chief, what you got, man? What you got, Chief? What you got?
Everything that has been said has been said.
Hallelujah.
All praise to the Most High.
All praises. And with that, for those that's watching, please, if you have not, subscribe to the channel, because it's only going to get better from here. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that actually not only applies to those of us within the Israelite community. It applies to all so-called Black people. Trust. Everything that we're talking about can apply to you if you don't even abide or agree with our culture. it will help you be successful more than anybody that you know, and more than anything that you have done in regards to family and structure. We got a lot to talk about, and it ain't over. We're going to be here for a while. YAH Conscious Radio, and if it's not YAH Conscious, it is not acceptable. Shalom lecha or shalom lechem. Until next time, be safe.
Not I told.
Brothers, I told.
Shalom.
Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, lala tova.